Welcome to the Global Discussion, discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name is Simon Hodgkins. Today, it's a real pleasure to be joined by Audrey Nesbitt. Audrey, you're very welcome to the show. Let's begin. And let's get you to introduce yourself and tell us all about this wonderful world that you're involved in. Over to you, Audrey.
All right. So, as stated, I'm Audrey Nesbitt. I have been in the cryptocurrency slash blockchain Web3 space since 2014. I am the founder and CEO of an NFT platform called Bloomly, head of marketing for Spirit Blockchain Capital, and continued volunteer and marketing strategist for Crypto Chicks, which is a nonprofit educational hub for women and youth in the space, in the emerging tech space, with global chapters all over the world.
Well, thank you, Audrey. You made that sound very quick, but there's an awful lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Crypto Chicks if I can first, because I'm very familiar with the great work that you guys do there. You were the CMO there for a while. I know you're a
Yes.
marketing advisor there currently.
Yeah.
But that was sort of like a global education program, wasn't it?
Yep, it still is. It still is. Actually, during like this past year, we've created education content, supported by the Canadian federal government, gap content or gap courses for high school students for emerging tech. I don't know if you're in the education space, you understand that curriculum and high school curriculums move slow, whereas technology is moving fast. So we created courses about, creating websites with no code, apps with no code, using AI, entrepreneurial skills and that sort of thing. We're ongoing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great and continued success with everything that you're doing there. And so let's bring it up to speed with Bloomly then. So now you're also the CEO, you're the co-founder of Bloomly, which is a really interesting operation that you've got there. Could you help maybe unpack that for people watching or listening to this episode? What is Bloomly? What does it do? And how does that feed into this Web3 world? Why is it important that things like Bloomly exist today?
So Bloomly is an NFT SaaS enterprise platform where you can go and without coding experience, you can start launching NFT collections or NFTs. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. How I like to describe what they are is if you and I transact in $1, I give you $1, you give me $1, and then you give that dollar, or you could steal that dollar out of my pocket, that sort of thing. $1 is $1 is $1. It's fungible. $1 can, you know what I mean? There's no difference between your dollar, my dollar, whatever. And I can't go to somebody 3 passes down the chain and say, that's my dollar, right? The Mona Lisa is non-fungible. There's nothing like it. There's nothing you can trade for the Mona Lisa that's of equal value. And if somebody takes my Mona Lisa and 3 owners away, I can go to that owner and say, it's mine, because it's up to that person to do their due diligence, like buying real estate, right? You check and you make sure that there's no claims and that sort of thing. So fungible is $1 equals $1. There's no difference between either or. Non-fungible, the Mona Lisa is unique. You can't just trade it. So non-fungible tokens in regards to the internet are unique coded identity. So whether that's a piece of artwork, okay, I'll backtrack on that one. So let's say a piece of artwork that's really unique. NFTs or non-fungible tokens are becoming used in digital identities, right? Because all of our digital identities are completely unique. So that is non-fungible. There's also fungible tokens, which again, it's like you just trade one for the other. So non-fungible tokens, and we have this non-fungible token platform. Initially, you know, as we built it, because we're big, you know, my partners at Bloomly, we've all been in the space for a long time. So great tech providers through Turn Technologies. And when we started the platform, it was, you know, you're kind of, because it's an emerging technology and it's so new, you're trying to figure out what, you know, which avenue you're going to go in. And we initially, you know, you're looking at collectibles, gaming, you know, membership like Bored Ape Yacht Club and those kind of NFTs, because that's kind of what took off in the space. But in the background, we know ultimately it's more enterprise use for it, right? Where you're not going to know as an end user if you're actually like what technology you're using. So we're moving into the carbon credit space, commodities, with precious metal mining and that sort of thing. So we're moving away from the famous or the popular NFTs, the art, the JPEG art, that sort of thing. And we're moving in a total different direction. Where blockchain comes into it is blockchain is distributed ledger technology. It's very transparent. The way I describe blockchain is, you know, centralized data is like one person controls it or one company controls it, and everything that's happening behind the curtain is controlled by that entity, person, company, what have you. Whereas in distributed ledger technology like blockchain, is everybody kind of gets a copy of it and is updated in real time with the transactions that are happening. So it's more transparent when we can all see, in simplified terms, we can all see what's happening in our world or in that world, you know, all together. So in regards to like carbon credits, where there's a lot of fraud, a lot of questionable exchanges in the supply chain or what have you, blockchain is great for that transparency.
Thank you for explaining that, Audrey. I want to come back to a couple of points that you've raised there. The first one is around the collectibles side of things. And I want to ask you about that. And I'm going to come on to the fact that there is a move away, and, you know, whether that's carbon credits and the tracking of that through ledger technology in a moment. But before we get onto that, originally, a lot of people saw very high prices for some very particular artworks from particular producers, quite astronomical levels to some degree. There was a huge spike, wasn't there, in NFT engagement, and then some people made an awful lot of money as they sold these digital assets. Some people got stuck with a few assets, which have, you know, the value of them has dropped significantly. And other people continue, although maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but to me it feels like at a smaller, more sustainable scale than that sort of fever pitch that we saw. But my question is really around brands getting involved, because there have been some large companies that have suddenly realized that, you know, this proof of ownership, this digital stake in this digital asset that you can own, that brings that uniqueness, like you were talking about the Mona Lisa. My dollar's not, it's not your dollar. Mine is unique. It's like a Mona Lisa. And when brands got involved in that, it sort of changed the game a little bit, didn't it?
So I think you would need to be specific on what brands. So high-end brands are using NFTs or it's fidgetals, right? So it's where a unique digital NFT is connected to a physical, you know, well, there's a couple. So fidgetals where it's connected to a physical item, shoes, exclusive purses, that sort of thing. And I believe also some luxury brands are using it. I don't know if I would say membership, but where the owners of that NFT or that digital collectible, whether it's Porsche or what have you, I think trying to think of the name of the car company where you buy the NFT and it gives you exclusive benefits.
Yeah,
right?
I'm thinking of
So
brands like Porsche, like Adidas, like Nike,
yeah,
Christie's, I think, used it for a while, Louis Vuitton.
yeah.
There's been quite a few big globally recognized brands in this Web3 space.
Right. And some of them are doing different things. Like I know initially, like Nike, Coca-Cola, that sort of thing, they launched they did some NFT drops with unique items that, the ultimate goal is that those items, whether they're skins like in a game, right? So things, and that those digital assets can move into like games, right? Or move into other platforms and be used, or into Decentraland or what have you, and used in that kind of virtual world. Then there are NFT drops where it's an exclusive membership. So by having that NFT, you get, like it's kind of like being part of, holding an American Express card, where you get, prices before everybody else, or you get sales before everybody else. You get discounts, concierge service if you're at a certain level. So there's NFTs where it's a special membership or exclusive club. And then there's NFTs where it's attached to a physical good. So you get a digital proof of ownership and it's connected to a pair of shoes or a purse or a special jersey or a car.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so bring me up to speed then on the difference between that world that we've been describing there, and then this move into whether it's carbon credits and, trying to get rid of the fraud elements there, or to make sure that the carbon credit it's visible to everybody. We can all see it, the ledger's there. Um, and this sort of maybe this new area, I know it's not as new maybe today as we're talking because it's been going on for quite a while, but
Mm-hmm.
to many people, when they think of NFT, I think they conjure up the artistic JPEG type image in their head.
Right.
Whereas there are some very sophisticated and important areas of Web3, like carbon credits. So could you maybe expand on that a little bit for us?
Well, it's kind of like blockchain. And when I talk about blockchain technology, I actually say it's really boring. It's ledger, it's a way of, recording transactions. It's just everybody has a copy and everybody's copy is updated kind of in real time. It's the simplest way, I think, to explain it. Bitcoin is just a use case of blockchain technology. A lot of people think they're the same, and it's like, no, Bitcoin is just a use case. And the beautiful thing, and that Bitcoin showed as this use case, is it's not just Bitcoin that can be coded, right, or tokenized. It's mortgages, it's loans, it's there's so much that can happen through smart contracts and blockchain technology. And now you have, whereas years ago it was on the fringe, and it was a select group of degens using, Bitcoin and being excited about tokens and all of the technology. Now you have major asset managers and banks moving into the technology because it automates a lot of paper heavy processes, right? So when you don't even talk about the technology, what we're doing, or what blockchain and tokenization is doing, is modernizing traditional finance, right? It's removing a lot of the paperwork. It's removing the use of a lot of middlemen that you don't need to use anymore, because you can code a lot of the processes. So for example, I just bought a piece of property on the East Coast, and the paperwork, like even for just a vacant piece of property, the paperwork, me having to send statements to, photocopies to prove I sent the deposit, send a copy of it, prove so I'm physically going to the bank and then to another bank and doing these transactions, and there's all this paperwork. Whereas now you can just code it. So as soon as that you know, as soon as the deposit hits the bank, the next step's automatically moved into, instead of all this clunky, laborious work. So without even mentioning the technology, that's basically what's happening. Is it's just this coding, the speed of transactions and stuff that's eliminating a lot of, like, think about it. Like, if I'm in Canada, if I want to send a wire transfer to the US, I have to physically go to my bank and do it between the hours of 9 to 5. I can just send Bitcoin any time of day directly to whomever I'm transacting with. Like, I don't have to go to a bank.
Oh, 100%. And I think blockchain, because it has so many far-reaching applications in theory and in reality, it sort of touches on almost every sector, whether it's government, whether it is healthcare, for example, or finance in particular, as you rightly pointed out. It has far-reaching implications. Now, we did reach a sort of media fever pitch as well, with headlines about how this was going to fundamentally change banking completely. And we seem to have moved from that story, and now we see banks heavily invested in this technology because it is so important from
Mhm.
the, I suppose, transparency side of things, that proof side of things.
Mhm. And not
Um,
just the transparency, again, the elimination of a lot of the back office processing, right? So
yeah,
it's not just transparency, it's cost cutting.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And yeah,
Um,
it's kind of like the internet boom. And you know, when you talk about the JPEGs and the artwork and the high price for NFTs, for those JPEGs, it was like that was the exciting, community-driven, speculative part. And like the internet boom, it's like not everything crashed. There's technologies being used, and it's the less sexy stuff, but that's the stuff that gets traction, and that's the stuff that actually builds solid long-term use cases, you know, as
yeah, and
opposed to the flash in the pan stuff.
yeah, and I think that's a really great point, because it's like a Gartner hype cycle almost, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
everybody gets excited, and then it sort of comes down a huge slope before it sort of bottoms out and starts to climb again. Because ultimately, behind this decentralized digital ledger system that we're talking about here, the blockchain, ultimately, it not only records but it verifies transactions. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, those sort of networks and those nodes that are involved there, that decentralized aspect of it, the immutability of it,
Right. Because
it's a fundamental technology game changer, isn't it?
correct. Because once the transaction or block's recorded, it can't be tampered with. You would have to corrupt everybody that has a copy of the ledger. You'd have to corrupt everybody to commit some sort of fraud. Again, the simplest way I'm trying to describe it, right? So it's like once a transaction's there, everybody sees it. And in simple terms. Whereas current, say, bookkeeping systems, if I control the bookkeeping system, I can do whatever I want with it and only show you what I want. Whereas blockchain is we're both looking at the exact same thing at the exact same time. And yeah, any attempt would be detected.
So let's bring it back to Bloomly then, your organization, because for people that are in this space, you've got to create your NFT asset in the first place, right? You
Mm-hmm.
kind of got to drop it. You've got to have a storefront for it. You've got to have somebody buy it. You've got to have the
Mm-hmm.
finance check out. So how does that functionality work? How does that workflow work from Bloomly's sort of product and service offerings?
Well, what's happening now, again, because it's new, right? And so it's usually like we'll meet with the client and what do they want to do and where do their expertise lie and how do we connect, right? How are we connecting the technology? Because they probably already have some sort of technology or what have you, then you know that, so there's a lot of APIs and integrations and that sort of thing if we're talking about other tech partners. In regards to like somebody that wants to do more on the membership side, DAO side, or like NFT art collectibles, part of our discussion is in marketing, because you nailed it. It's like, it's, you know, somebody asked me, an investor asked me from Dubai, and it's like, you know, there's competition, right? So who do you think's going to rise to the surface? And I said, whoever's got the largest marketing budget. So when I'm talking to somebody and it's like, how much, if you can't market it and you can't build a community around it and you don't have the funds to do so, you know what I mean? Like, I guess it's like any product launch, even in Web2, right? It's, if you don't have the marketing dollars behind it, it either really be phenomenal and you're going to get that use, you know, like you can go one person and onboard them, and they're so excited about what's going on that they become your marketing, right? Or you need to have money. And if you don't have a big marketing budget, you're not going to get the community. I mean, marketing is as much of product development, if not more important, to launch a successful product.
Yeah. Ultimately, you need the attention, the awareness. And yes, you can do that from word of mouth, but it maybe takes a while. And those with the deep pockets and the marketing budget that are prepared to make a little bit of noise and cut through and build that audience and that community tends to have the greater success. And you mentioned an investor asking you a question there. And it is something I wanted to ask you, because you're involved with Spirit Blockchain Capital.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been around for quite a while now. They're this sort of Canadian Swiss financial services company. Could you
Mm-hmm.
tell us a bit about what they do and how you're involved there?
So Spirit Blockchain Capital is actually a really unique blockchain company, because so there's three facets to Spirit Blockchain Capital, and this is put together by Louis Bateman, who also spearheaded Voyager Capital. He's come from traditional markets, and he started also getting into the blockchain space probably around the same time I did. So Spirit Blockchain Capital is a publicly traded company, right? So audits, transparency, and all those things, you know, that come with being a publicly traded company. So just from that aspect, if you wanted to invest in cryptocurrency or blockchain technology, Web3, say, but you weren't sure how to go about it, or you don't like the speculative nature of like just directly buying a cryptocurrency token, you can invest in this publicly traded company, right? You can, you can buy your shares, sell your shares at any time. So that's one. Under Spirit has started to invest in and buy technology companies that are building in the space. So Troon Technologies is probably the biggest one, and Troon Technologies has been a SaaS builder for years and years and years, and their you know, core business is in medical software development. And they have a part of their team that started building in, you know, blockchain technology, like same, you know, 2014 timeframe. And they're building, so Spirit has bought Troon, and in addition has invested in other blockchain technology companies like Vesta Equity, which is real estate tokenization, Crypto Slam, which is NFT data, and others. So there's like, so right now what you have in the blockchain space is all these little companies or smaller companies solving one piece, right? They're each solving some unique little piece. So Troon Technologies under Spirit Blockchain Capital, they're going to build an app, and the Spirit Link app will aggregate the benefits of all of these technologies underneath its umbrella into this app. And Troon, like we talked about, Troon is building that digital identity piece, right? So where it will be an onboarding, app for you, and your digital identity will be a unique piece. And then depending on what country you're in and regulation and that sort of thing, that will dictate what companies benefits you'll have access to. Does that make sense? If your Vesta equity is in the US, so if you're in the US, you might, depending on regulation, have access to that opportunity in tokenization of real estate. Then they also have assets under management, which is the third part of the tier, where they're going to start launching funds, much like BlackRock just did. And those are about to launch. So from a macro, it's kind of like a safer, less risky way to invest in, the Web3 space.
Yeah, that makes sense, and there's quite a number of different aspects that sit there underneath the Spirit Blockchain Capital Inc. And thanks for taking us through that. And very interesting as well when you look at that from a global perspective, due to regulations, due to different industries and different regulators. Some countries it's state by state, other countries it could be national regulations, and of course each industry, in a lot of cases, some particular industries in particular are highly regulated, so all that has to be worked through. Yeah. Before we run out of time, let me ask you, Audrey, it seems like you're in a very exciting space still with lots going on.
Yeah.
But if I was to ask you the next 6, 12, 18 months for you, for Bloomly, for the work that you're doing in lots of areas, whether it's crypto chicks or whether it's in the investment space side of things, what does it look like for you? How are you going about planning? What's on your roadmap? What's on your horizon? How does that work in your world?
Well, Spirit Blockchain Capital is raising at the moment, and I'm really excited about the product launches lining up for Spirit Blockchain, and we'll start announcing those in the near future. Bloomly, we have a big announcement coming in about 8 weeks, and it will be on the environment sustainability side. And I can't divulge, there's a major partner there that we're lining up. And so that's very exciting for me. And also with Spirit Blockchain Capital, we will be launching the Spirit Link app in Panama at a big event that we're actually organizing in Panama for the end of October. So it's going to be a very busy few months, and it's very exciting what's happening with Spirit Blockchain Capital and Bloomly.
It certainly is. And finally, is there anything else you'd like to share with our worldwide audience today? And secondly, if people want to reach out, connect with you and find out more about what's happening in your area, where's the best place to point people to, Audrey?
With sharing, I guess what I'm trying to live by day is, I love emerging technology. I love technology. I love teaching it. I love the people that are in the space. But we're human, and don't forget, our human lives, and appreciate, what nature has given us. And, I try to come from a place of appreciation. I appreciate the people in my life. I don't know, I guess if I can leave anybody on that, it's, technology is just technology. At the end of the day, it's all about human connection, Mother Nature, and that sort of thing. How to get a hold of me on LinkedIn, Audrey Nesbitt on LinkedIn, definitely connect there, or follow me on Twitter. Well, it's X now. I just feel so weird saying X. Follow me on X, Audrey Nesbitt 11. I am very excited. Upcoming, I'll be teaching a course on tokenization for the University of Toronto, and speaking at the Futurist Conference, which is a major conference in Toronto in August, and I can't wait to put this event on in Panama.
That's fantastic, Audrey. Such an awful lot going on. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you today. I want to thank our audience who's been with us today, watching or listening to this episode of the Global Discussion. I want to ask you to like, follow, subscribe, do everything I need you to do to help support the show. And I hope that you'll join me back here for some more discussions with creatives and leaders and thinkers just like Audrey. Audrey, thanks very much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure to catch up with you again today.
Thank you for having me.